Hi, everyone, and welcome to this lecture where we are going to be discussing net present value, also known as NPV. So the net present value, what is it and what does it tell you? So as we discussed in the previous lecture, net present value takes the time value of money into consideration, which is why it was important for you to understand that. And again, time value of money is money that is given to you today is worth more than if it were given to you in the future. And what net present value does is it discounts future cash flows to obtain the value now. So I'm going to start out with a scenario. You want to make a pitch to your boss to purchase a new piece of equipment that's going to add value to your company. And as I stated, it discounts future cash flows. So you need to determine a rate of what you want to use as your discount rate. And that's used to determine what your future cash flows will be worth today. Remember that present value that we learned about. So in this scenario, we have a few assumptions. So the assumptions are you're going to go to your boss and you're going to say, hey, I have this great machine. It's $30,000, but it's going to give us an annual inflow of cash of $7,500 every year for 5 years. And the discount rate, let's say it's 5%, but when you first pitch it to your boss, you really don't know what that discount rate is. So it's going to give us $7,500 each year for 5 years because that's the life of the machine. So we're looking at this chart here, and it says, okay, an outflow of $30,000 from the initial investment in year 0. And then each year thereafter, it's going to give us $7,500 to the company. And your boss is looking and he's saying, wow, this looks great. So you show him what this is going to look like. And you say, here's our initial investment. The annual cash flows are $7,500 for the next 5 years. My total cash flow back to the company is $37,500, which means I've earned $7,500 from my initial investment of $30,000, which is a 25% return on investment. And you're excited because, you're helping out the company and you're going to add, 25% based on this investment. But then your boss says, well, let me think about that. He says, 25% ROI on a $30,000 investment, that's great. But your boss asks you a very important question. He said, does that take into consideration the present value on future earnings? And if it doesn't, your boss can make the argument to say that, well, if I took that $30,000, I could take that investment and I can put it somewhere else where it could earn me more money because you didn't consider the time value of money. So that's $7,500 each year. Basically, what you need to do is you need to say in year 1, what is that $7,500 worth? In year 2, what is that $7,500 worth today? In year 5, what is that $7,500 worth today? In order to give you an accurate reading of what value this would bring to the company. So now you're going to go back and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to change my assumptions. I'm going to keep it at $30,000. I've got the annual cash flows of $7,500 for the next 5 years, but I'm going to apply this 5% discount rate. And so you go in and you do that, you line up, what the cash flows are going to be, and then you have to answer the question, what is the $7,500 earned in year 5 worth today? And what is the year 4 worth today, year 3, year 2, and year 1? Because remember, the money over here in year 5, while it says $7,500, if you took that $30,000 initial investment, that could actually turn into more money. So there's a calculation where you take the initial outflow plus each year of cash flow using the discount rate of 5%. So on this screen, you first have to calculate the present value. What is that $7,500 worth in year 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1? And if you look down here, you can see the calculations. Okay, so that's pretty time consuming. And yes, Excel does have a solution to this. So if you go to Excel, you go to formulas, the tab, and you go to financial, you click on the drop down and there'll be a drop down that says NPV. And first it'll say PV because you first need to calculate the present value. So as we stated in the present value lecture, it's going to ask you for the rate, the NPER, and the payment. So we know that the rate is 5, the the NPER is 1, the payment is $30,000, and here we're going to indicate 7,500 because that's what the return will be from purchasing this equipment. And then you click on OK. And this is just going to, so basically what this is doing is I want to find out the present value for year 1, then I change it to year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, so on. And then it will bring out this calculation to show that in year 1, that 7,500 is worth $6,250 today. So if I add up all of these present values, I come to $30,300, not the $37,500 that we originally calculated when all we did was add up the 7,500 over 5 years. So the net present value is 300. So while it's not 37,500 and it's much less than that, know that an NPV that is greater than 0 should always be accepted. And if it's less than 0, it should be rejected. So in this case, your boss will maybe say, sure, you've done all the proper calculations, and yes, we will go with this because it is, regardless of the amount, the small amount that it is, it's still a positive number, and therefore it should be accepted. Now here, if your cash inflows change each year, you can actually go in and change the future value number. So in year 1, if I say the future value is 7,500, and if I change this to year 2 and I change this to $10,000, it will automatically do the calculations for you. So you don't have to have an even amount. So here's what we've learned in this lecture. Net present value. It's great to estimate if a project should be accepted or rejected. You have to figure out the present value first, right? And that's taking in the time value of money. And you are, once you find out the present value on future inflows, your NPV calculation can be done in Excel, and an NPV greater than 0 should be accepted, and anything less than 0 should be rejected, because that means your initial investment of, say, $30,000 would be less than $30,000 at the end of 5 years.